Hey, it's Lucy. The summer of 2020 hasn't been a historically great time to be leaving education and entering the world of work, but that just means if you're fortunate enough to get a job interview, it's got to really count. In spring, I had my first interview in 4 years, and for that reason, I thought, I'm so unlikely to get this, I'm so out of practice. Aren't there a million blogs and books with tips on how to transform yourself in interviews that I know nothing about? But I really wanted the job. I had 3 weeks notice before the day itself, and I was determined to just do the best I could. And so this video is about what I did before the interview that made me not want to die afterwards. So let's start 3 weeks before. The moment I found out I'd got the interview, I wanted to research the sector more because the job was not in my current area of expertise. That was okay. From the description, they were more after skills I'd got from my PhD, but knowing the basics seems at the very least polite and thorough and like you've done your homework, but really it's more for you to see if you're interested, to know what you're getting into. So I started revising, basically. Started reading web pages, reading articles, making notes, compiling definitions, really just getting my head around it all and either brushing up on things I hadn't thought of since high school physics or I'd never even come across. Properly reading up on the industry helped me in 2 ways. First, I felt far more comfortable knowing more because knowing the history, knowing the future challenges, knowing what was going on right now, from that I could piece together where I came into it, so why this specific job existed and why it was important. My sister hires people as part of her job, and she said recently they didn't hire anyone at all for a position because no one could tell them what the job title meant. And the second reason doing some research helped is because I became absolutely fascinated with the whole sector. Instead of the job being a, oh, I could be good at this, it sounds quite interesting, it became a, I want this job because I want to be part of this. And that's important because the people who are interviewing you will want someone who is genuinely interested. Someone who's just after the job for the money or the prestige, their heart's not going to be in it. And so let your interest really show. One other thing I'll mention this far in advance is something you might not want to hear, and that is keep your social media clean. At my interview, they told me they had checked out my Twitter, they had checked out this channel, and if we're going to be perfectly honest, that is what I use Twitter for, to talk about my research, to advertise my professional self, if we're going to be blunt about it. Bear in mind that anything public can and will be seen by your colleagues and your employers. A lot of people use social media to peddle political viewpoints, and you should be aware that not everyone will share these. Just be smart, be reserved, display yourself in a manner that is dignified at all times, or make it anonymous or make it private. The week before the interview was when I brushed up on all the usual tips. So make eye contact, tell us about your strengths, tell us about a time you showed leadership, all that. I'm not going to repeat the techniques that people have literally written books about, but something that I found really helpful was think of the questions you don't want to be asked, and that's what you spend your time preparing for. Which areas of your job do you know less about than you should? Brush up on them. When did something go wrong that you're perhaps embarrassed by? Figure out what positive you can take from that, because there always is one. Come up with multiple examples, like when you worked as a team, when you resolved a conflict, etc. Because if you use up one example early on, it might get asked in a slightly different format later. Answer questions in your head as you walk to your department, or out loud in your room, or with friends, and keep going at the ones you get stuck on until you get it right. The day of the interview itself, I think I was more nervous than I've ever been for one, even my PhDs. My GCSE chemistry teacher once told us, and I never forgot this, she said, the night before an exam, don't do any revision, don't cram over your notes, have a bubble bath and a hot chocolate, because that will do you more good. So, the night before the interview and the morning of, I just focused on being calm and being smiley and being the best version of myself. Because that's what you've got to remember for the day. If these people are going to want to work with you, they have to like you. It's really hard to remember, but try to smile. If you feel yourself getting flustered, take a moment to collect yourself. You can just say, let me have a moment to think about that. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know. Remember, if you've got this far, they like what they know about you so far, and they want to know more. If you really want this job, if you're really interested, and if you really think you'd be good at it, make sure that comes across, because that is as much a feather to your bow as your apprenticeship, or your degree, or your 5 years experience. Not every candidate will have that. Now is a good time for me to announce that after 4 years of my PhD and 3 years of making videos about that, I got the job. My PhD was in Martian lake chemistry, but I am now a spent nuclear fuel specialist at the National Nuclear Laboratory, which means that I've gone from studying other planets to doing something here on Earth that actually helps people, and that's something I've wanted to do for a long time. Whoever you are watching this, whether you're finishing your A-levels, your postgraduate, you're switching jobs, you're moving upward, I wish you the very best of luck with your own interview. Remember, all this advice is subjective. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, so find what works for you and then do yourself proud. Thanks for watching. My name is Lucy Kissick. I'm a scientist at the National Nuclear Laboratory, and I'm also a PhD student at the University of Oxford. And take care.